Sit with me for a second. Buckle up for this ride, because before these islands were called the Philippines, before Spanish maps, before foreign names, before history books decided where the story should begin, the Visayas already had warriors whose lives were written on their skin. Not with paint, not for decoration, with pain, memory, and honor. When Spanish explorers saw the tattooed people of the Visayas, they called them Pintados, the painted ones. It was not their own name for themselves. It was the name of outsiders trying to describe what they did not fully understand. But the bodies they saw were not painted. They were marked, and those marks meant something. In the islands of the Visayas, tattooing was known by names like batok, batuk, or patik. The designs could run across the arms, legs, chest, throat, back, and sometimes even the face. To foreign eyes, it must have looked shocking. To the people who wore them, these markings were not strange at all. They were part of identity, part of beauty, part of courage, part of being seen. A tattooed body was not silent. It spoke. It could tell people where you belonged. It could show that you had entered adulthood. It could show rank, reputation, and the respect you carried in your community. And for warriors, it could reveal something even heavier, that you had faced danger and lived. Among Visayan men, the most respected tattoos were not simply chosen. They were earned. Early Spanish writers recorded that a man did not receive certain tattoos until he had done something worthy of them. A brave deed, a battle survived, an enemy faced. Another mark could come only after another act. So the body became a record, not a written record, because paper was not the only way people kept history. The skin remembered. The community remembered. Every line carried a story that others could read without a single word being spoken. Think about what that means. A warrior did not need to introduce himself with speeches. His body had already started the conversation. The markings on his chest, arms, or face could tell another warrior who he was dealing with. They could warn an enemy. They could inspire allies. They could turn fear itself into armor. And the face tattoos worn by the fiercest warriors were not casual marks. They could be terrifying on purpose. They transformed the human face into something sharper, more dangerous, almost like a mask made for battle. Imagine standing across from a man whose skin carried the proof of everything he had survived. That is not fashion. That is reputation carved into flesh. But the Pintados were not just warriors waiting around for battle like history's most intense gym bros. They were part of complex island societies. They sailed. They traded. They farmed. They made alliances. They followed leaders. They honored ancestors. They lived in a world shaped by rivers, coastlines, boats, kinship, gold, ritual, and war. The sea was not a wall to them. It was a road. Long before colonial maps tried to organize the islands into neat little boxes, Visayan communities were already connected to a wider maritime world. The ocean carried people, goods, stories, enemies, and ideas. To survive in that world, strength mattered, skill mattered, loyalty mattered, and appearance mattered too. The tattooing itself was not easy. It was pain with purpose. The skin was opened again and again so pigment could settle into the body. The person being tattooed had to endure it. No shortcuts, no pretending, no painless version for people with weak commitment and dramatic breathing. That pain was part of the meaning. A mark that cost nothing could prove nothing. This is what made the Pintados powerful. Their tattoos were beautiful, yes, but they were also serious. They carried memory in a way that could not be removed without removing part of the person. Then came colonization, and colonization does what it always does. It arrives, names what already has names, judges what it does not understand, and then acts surprised when people resist being rewritten. The tattooed Visayans became subjects in Spanish reports, drawings, and religious campaigns. Their bodies were described by outsiders, interpreted by outsiders, and slowly pushed into a world where old meanings were treated as backward, dangerous, or shameful. Over time, many tattooing traditions in the lowland Philippines faded. Not because they had no value, not because they lacked meaning, but because colonial pressure, Christian conversion, changing social systems, and generations of cultural disruption made old practices harder to keep alive. That loss matters, because when a tradition disappears, it does not just take an image with it. It takes a way of remembering, a way of belonging, a way of saying, "This is who we are." But the story of the Pintados did not vanish completely. It survived in manuscripts, in old accounts, in art, in language, in scholarship, in festivals, in memory. And now, in the growing desire of many Filipinos to look back before colonization and ask better questions. Who were we before we were renamed? What did our ancestors believe about courage? What did beauty look like before it was filtered through foreign eyes? The Pintados remind us that Filipino history did not begin with conquest. It did not begin with a Spanish chronicler picking up a pen. It did not begin when someone from across the sea decided these islands had finally entered history. They were already here, living, fighting, trading, loving, grieving, remembering. Their tattoos were not random lines. They were a language of the body, a record of pain, pride, status, and survival. They were proof that history can live somewhere deeper than paper. So when we say Pintados, we should not hear only painted ones. We should hear the tapping of tools against skin. We should hear the waves around the Visayan Islands. We should hear warriors breathing through pain. We should hear a people whose bodies carried stories long before outsiders tried to translate them. The Spanish saw paint, but the Visayans carried memory. And memory, once marked deep enough, does not disappear easily.